Mr. President, dear Mario, Madame la Présidente, cher Daniel, ladies and gentlemen, Mesdames, Messieurs, I include my fellow governors who are friendly enough to be with us this morning. To all of you, bonjour et bienvenue à Paris. It's a particular pleasure to welcome you to this conference on financial supervision and the role of national authorities in Europe. What better way to inaugurate the new headquarters of the ACPR, France's Supervision Authority for Banks and Insurance, than to bring in colleagues and experts from across the continent. I urge you to look at a few street names in the neighborhood. This borough is called in Paris Quartier de l'Europe, very much in the spirit of what we are doing together at the SSM. I warmly thank President Mario Draghi for being here. Before giving him the floor, let me stress that we have all reasons to be proud of what has been achieved for banking union in the past few years. Proud, but not complacent. There are two priorities still, one in substance and one in method. First, our priority in substance, strengthening the second pillar on resolution. Now that we have had the single supervisory mechanism up and running for 4 years, it's easy to forget that there were many skeptics who were sure that such a union could not be achieved. But as Mark Twain would have said, we didn't know it was impossible. We didn't know it was impossible, so we did it. Today, it is a tangible reality. In fact, our supervisory practices have been harmonized upwards. Our legal framework is stronger thanks to the single rule book, and European banks are sounder. The core equity tier 1 solvency ratio for major institutions has increased by more than 3 points since 2014, from 11.3% to 14.6% at the end of last year. Cher Daniel, liebe Sabine, and all your team, you deserve our congratulations on this achievement. Yet, banking union second pillar, the single resolution mechanism, SRM, is still incomplete. Yes, we have already managed our first cases, substantially improving the health of a number of banks, notably in Spain and Italy. But making the SRM fully operational should be our top priority. In my opinion, it is a common backstop to the Single Resolution Fund that is really the key. Experience from abroad is instructive. In most large jurisdictions, in particular the United States and the United Kingdom, the intervention capabilities of resolution funds are backstopped by the fiscal authorities. And they are not a burden on public finance, since any public outlays are generally reimbursed by the private sector. The EU-area agreement in principle on the backstop, reached on the 29th of June, is a crucial first step. It is now urgent to deliver on it by the end of this year. Two key issues remain, at least. How to fund the backstop at a sufficiently high level to be credible. and how to create a swift decision-making process to deal with emergencies. If we need weeks to activate the backstop, then the backstop is useless. The euro area also needs a system for providing liquidity to financially sound banks after resolution. One that is provided by the euro system and secured by a high-quality public guarantee. Once we will have a credible and efficient mechanism for resolution, it will be much easier to reach a pragmatic compromise on deposit insurance, probably with a focus on liquidity sharing between national guarantee schemes. But to put it in a nutshell, the second pillar is a priority compared to the third one. Let me add on substance two thoughts. First, on anti-money laundering, AML. In this area, I am convinced that we need to enhance our approach by building on a network of national authorities and EBA that should ensure an effective single AML supervision. This means that EBA should have the legal and human capacities to foster convergence of practices on the best standards based on clear European mandates. It should go as far as including effective breach of law reviews and a capacity to directly intervene in some cases with European-wide impact. Second, what we have achieved for banks can serve as an example for financial markets. If we truly want to enhance financial integration and capital markets union for the purpose of better private risk sharing and convergence across Europe, we should, in particular, strengthen ESMA's role as a supervisory authority, at least with regard to wholesale market oversight, while duly involving national authorities when appropriate. I come to the second priority in method, developing synergies within the SSM as a whole. After only 4 years of existence, SSM is now fully operational, with more than 2,300 supervisory decisions in 2017 alone. Those of you who work within the SSM are the living, breathing reality of European integration. Every day, you prove that closer cooperation and even closer union is not a dream of the past, but something we are still capable of today. Part of the SSM success stems from its design. The mechanism constitutes an original model of federalism, based on a close and continuous collaboration between the ECB and national authorities at all levels, from the composition of the supervisory board to the joint supervisory teams, the GST, with which many of you are familiar, the on-site teams, and staff secondments. This does not mean, obviously, that all is rosy, and that culture and practices have fully converged within the SSM. Success allows us to consider now how the day-to-day functioning of the SSM can still be improved. In our view, there are 3 main strategic priorities. The first one, and we work together on that actively with Daniel and Sabine, the first one is to further simplify processes. I welcome the current initiatives, including the creation of the Simplification Group, co-chaired by Petra Sankovic from the ECB, and yes, Edouard Fernandez-Bolo, Secretary General of the ACPR. And Edouard, I use this opportunity to greet you in your new home. Various measures are under development, like the growing use of delegation or the streamlining of STREP or GST functioning. However, an essential challenge will be to make sure that all processes will remain optimized over time and that simplification becomes a full and permanent part of decision-making from conception to execution. The second priority is to promote mobility, thanks in particular to staff secondments and more on-site supervisors working on banks outside their home country. Other initiatives could include very short staff exchanges or swaps within GSTs between the ECB and national authorities to allow members to better understand the culture and practices of their counterparts. The third and final priority is to develop synergies. Just as with the Eurosystem, the banking union constitutes a system with a strong center and strong national components, which ultimately have to act as one team. The goal is to make the best use of national resources by fostering their participation in all key tasks of the SSM. National authorities should not hesitate to step up, yes, this is true for us, to step up their involvement in the SSM. In return, the ECB should further empower national authorities. Speaking for France, the ECB can obviously rely upon the ACPR. Its well-trained employees and inspectors are fully committed to serve the SSM common good alongside the ECB colleagues. And this is also my personal commitment as chairman. As regards on-site inspections and cross-border missions, further efforts should be made in order to tackle administrative hurdles. But I can already say and commit that the ACPR will aim to double its target of cross-border missions in 2019. Strong cooperation is needed beyond banking supervision. Let us not forget that a majority of national authorities are competent in other fields of supervision which matter for the SSM, such as insurance, which is the case for the ACPR. These competences are valuable not only for the supervision of financial conglomerates, but also for the development of a more unified single market for insurance. In cooperation with EIOPA, and I welcome its chairman, our friend Gabriel Bernardino, we are committed to preserving this unified single market for insurance after Brexit. Let me conclude. 10 years after the collapse of Lehman Brothers, we have learned at least 3 main lessons. First, we need competent, strong, and independent supervision. Second, we need a level playing field, at least in Europe, and if possible at the international level, for the implementation of the strengthened rules. Without demanding supervision, regulation, and the single rule book could largely remain a paper exercise. Last but not least, we must never let our guard down when it comes to financial stability. Anniversaries have to be a protection against the temptation to forget and fall asleep. And this temptation exists today. The SSM is the fruit of all these 3 lessons. And under your responsibility, the best guarantee for the future. Thank you for your attention.